Hi, it's Randall with Carter Hill Honeybees. Today's Tuesday, March 29th, 2022. Today I want to do an update on going back in to check. I'm not going to do a mite wash, but I'm going back in to check and see the effects of the Formic Pro treatment I've done on my colonies. Over the weekend I got to do 21 of the colonies. Those are colonies that come here and I fed over a period of a few weeks and took back out, including the one that I caught that was about to swarm. Now first I'll give you an update on it. It appears that the maneuver I did where I took out some frames I was wanting to discard and I put in 4 drone combs and I also put a medium immediately on top of the deep was successful in preventing them from swarming. I tore out all the swarm cells. I didn't see any evidence that they'd swarmed. It looked like they have not even attempted to build back. I had searched all the frames for swarm cells and I didn't see any evidence that they was attempting to build those back, but I will keep an eye on them. So right now I'm going to forego splitting them for the near future and just see what happens. I will check them probably every week to 10 days, a couple of times to see where which way they're going to go. But the effects that I've saw on these 21 colonies are kind of what I was hoping for. It appears that it shut the queen down for 3 to 4 days. They was just starting back to lay. Some of them had, the stronger the colonies seemed like the better they was doing. Some of them had some larvae already. Some of them just had some eggs and very young larvae. But it appears they shut them down, which and my guesstimation would be almost equivalent to pulling a couple of frames of capped brood out with the queen not laying for a couple of days, if you figure that in with the natural bee die-off that occurs daily this time of the year. I was kind of hoping during this time that would kind of help with swarm prevention a little bit. Not that I'm relying on that, but that's one of the reasons I chose this product. At the time I wanted to work that in between the time the spring turnover occurs and the nectar flow starts, and I wanted to accomplish that as soon as possible, or actually before swarm season started. So I think I was successful, but I do have a 1 yard left, my strongest yard. I didn't have to feed any of those. There's one colony there that I brought here and fed for 3 or 4 days. It gained weight quickly and I took it back, but the others did not get any feed, so that's my strongest yard. So I want to see what they look like. And there was one there that was particularly strong. So if I was successful in diverting it from swarming, I'll be happy. I did some minor checkerboarding on those colonies, as you'll see. But anyway, I've got my truck loaded here, and we're going to go up there and evaluate those colonies and see what I need to do. I'm prepared to do a split, catch a swarm. I'm prepared to add supers, whatever I need to do. So let's get up there and see what we got. All right, here's the first of the colonies up here. This colony yielded me 7 mediums full of honey last year. It also superseded in July of the year before, which led that young queen give me a tremendous colony last spring. It looked like it's doing pretty good this time too. Yeah, they're building up pretty good. Good weight to it. Now that piece of paper there was actually the container that the Formic Pro come in, and I just used it to cover up the inner cover hole. So basically what I'm doing, I want to see if my queens just went back to laying and see how these yards got affected since they've not been, or see how this yard's got affected since I didn't feed these any. I don't know if I mentioned earlier, but I did have 3 colonies that was making emergency cells, but the rest of them were doing fine, so I'll have to go back and see if those take. If not, then I'll have to deal with them accordingly when the time comes. So I can tell by looking in here there's no brood up this high, which is a good thing. Look like they're storing some honey here, but these cells are empty. So that's right now that's a good thing. That probably tells me hopefully that I'm safe from any danger of them trying to swarm in the next week or so. Now I can see some drone brood right here, and the top of the brood nest would be here. And it is, and I see a little bit of evidence of, which they may just be dumping this nectar in here to process overnight, but I also see quite a bit of young brood in here. And here's a queen cup. Trying to see if it's got anything in it or not. It don't, it's empty. So that's good. But there's a little bit of spottiness to this brood, but I'm hoping that they're going to move that up. Same thing here, a little bit of spottiness. So I think they did get shut down some too. We'll go into the brood nest. I'm gonna go ahead and take the, even though you don't have to, I'm gonna take the Formic Pro pads off. Get them out of their way. They're completely off gassed. It's been 2 weeks, maybe actually a couple of days over 2 weeks. Something else I did, I went ahead and inserted a 10th frame into all my deep, so I wanted to go back to that configuration to give them more room to expand down below. So I'm going to pull the edge frame out here. Yeah, they're filling this up a lot with honey. See some drones running around here. I'll go ahead and slide on down some and see if I can come across some brood. Brood's looking good in here, so this queen's in good shape. I don't need to go any further. I'm going to tilt it back and look for swarm cells. Yeah, I don't see any. Now I don't even see any queen cups. Now I could probably miss one doing it this way. Based on the other evidence I see, that I'm in pretty good shape for right now. There's a few queen cups up here. Brood's spotty. I'm hoping that will clean up over the next few weeks and be more solid. Now I'm evaluating each colony as I go along. I've only had to actually checkerboard one so far. This year I'm going to try to run them a little tighter. One of the things in the past that's happening to me is some of my colonies, they fill it out nicely. Some of them, they chimney up through the middle. So this year, even though it may cause me to have to go around more, I'm going to try to make them fill each super. And probably not going to try to go as high this year. I may just start slinging them earlier and not stack them up so high. I think that will be easier and more efficient on me. But I am going to put this medium back on here, and I am going to checkerboard it. And there's the remnants of my Formic Pro pad. They haven't started gnawing them yet, but there's no smell to them at all. It's completely gone. So let me grab a medium, and we'll go ahead and super this baby up. Now there's a little bit of brood up here in this medium. So we got brood in all three of these right now. And actually they'll probably get up into one more before they pretty much reach their peak, and then they start to downsize the brood cluster from the top, or the brood nest. But in my experience though, I will get usually a deep with 6 or 7, and then a couple mediums with that many frames, and then probably 3 or 4 medium frames on the third one up here, where you'll have that much brood in here. So they make tremendously populated colonies. This will pretty much, in my opinion, that this nectar management, it will find whatever the peak performance of your queen is. It's really demanding on them. And I find that most of my bigger colonies will generally supersede their queens sometime in late April, May, sometimes June, but it generally taxes them pretty hard, and they tend to have to replace them. And that's good, in my opinion. Especially if they do it a little bit later, you'll have a near young queen for the following spring, and they don't have to, or that queen has not been through the spring buildup, and that spring buildup process is pretty, especially if they got a lot of room to lay, it's pretty taxing on the queen. So there we go. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've put 4 frames in there, and then I'll set this medium up on top, and I'm gonna have it empty to the outside. This one's predominantly honey. Now this side has some drone comb, and I'm gonna turn it to the outside because hopefully they'll continue to fill that with honey and not come up here and lay drone brood up here. A little bit of the same here. This one's mostly honey, but there's some open area right there for this area right here is open for brood if they choose to put more there. And we have cap brood here. and drone brood. And I need to slide that frame over. And slide this one over. And this one's mostly honey. So now that I've got the checkerboarding complete, I'm gonna put an empty drawn out medium on top of that, and that will take care of this colony for probably about 2 weeks, and then I'll check again, and hopefully I'll be doing these others that way. So this is my 9-frame spacer. I'm going to space these frames equally apart. So these are 9 frames of drone comb. But during my no treatment years, I used to come out here in late February, sometimes early March, and do this. And I've learned over the last couple of years that I don't have to come that early. And it's actually, in my opinion, it's better to run the bees a little bit tighter and let them build up. Let the weather change where you got more consistent, reliable weather. And I think the bees are shot less by this. And as long as I can do it this way and not swarming, I'm going to continue to push the envelope. This is the latest I've ever done a checkerboard maneuver by far here at the end of March, which the bees here, everything seems to be about a week or so behind what I typically see as far as blooms, and the bees and stuff seem to be just a little bit behind. And then plus, like I said earlier, the Formic Pro seems to shut the queen down a few days, and that'll help. That helps slow it down too. So I think I'm good to go, and I'll come back and do a mite wash on these in a couple of weeks to see. Hopefully, I'm hoping all of them will have 0, because this time of the year, probably around 80% of the mites are going to be under the capping. So, in my opinion, if I had anything over 1, then that might be a problem this early. If I had more than 1 mite in a alcohol wash, because it's going to be skewed somewhat due to a high percentage of the mites being under the cappings. Now, here's the second colony. This is not the first time I actually put this product on in the spring. Back in 2020, I put this product on in May, about the middle of May, and we was kind of up against the temperature boundary, and I already had 6 or 7 supers on them. And based on the mite wash numbers I got after harvest, I'm going to say I had very little efficacy, and that was probably due to the amount of volume in there. So that's another reason I tried to run these tight, is to improve the efficacy of it this spring, because it was very poor efficacy in 2020 when I put that treatment on. But like I said, I think it was way too much space contributed to that. So I'm giving it another shot here this spring, and hopefully I'll get better results. Well, this colony looks similar to the first one. A lot of bees up top. They're packing in the stores. A little bit of drone brood at the bottom. And there's an active queen cell, so this one may be, I believe we have an active queen cell. I'm not 100% sure. It's close to the drone brood, but I believe that is an active queen cell. We'll look down further and see. But it appears these upper frames are definitely more full than the other one was. So let's get down in here and see what we got. Yeah, this super is heavier. Okay, well, this kind of gives me hope. This whole area right here is empty, which there was brood here before. It probably shut this queen down too, so I don't see any evidence of brood in this one. Nice bee with a pollen on its leg. As yellow as that is, I hope it's dandelion and not Carolina jasmine. Carolina jasmine's in full bloom right now. And in our area, according to our state apiarist, it's toxic to bees and kills them. All right, we're down in the deep. Make me some room. Yeah, there's plenty of room here for the queen to lay. Just haven't seen any brood yet. Okay, I see some young larvae in there. That's a relief. I was getting concerned that there might not be no brood in here, but there he is. Yeah, this frame here is full of brood. So yeah, I think clearly this one got shut down for a few days as well. So that's interesting. This may be a new tool that I can utilize for two reasons: to help me a little bit with swarm control, and also do a spraying treatment for mites. So there's clearly plenty of room for the queen to lay. I don't even think there's any cap brood in here, so they may have shut her down for a week. So I'm going to put this back together, and I'm going to repeat the same process. I'm going to checkerboard this one and put me an empty medium on top. And based on all the room I saw down there, I would imagine it would take 2 to 3 weeks for them to plug this out. I feel pretty good with what I saw there. Now with the checkerboarding process, you saw me on the other one, I just pulled out every other frame and worked it in. You can also pull out 4 or 5 frames in a row and slide them over that way. It don't really matter. I've done it both ways, and both ways work equally as well. But since I don't have that many to do, well, there's plenty of evidence of brood in this box. Look at there. Just goes to show you, when you don't see the whole picture, you miss something. Oh yeah, this right here is full of beautiful brood right there. So seeing that right there, I'm probably more like about 2 weeks away from plugging it out. Instead of 3. Ooh, look at the nectar. They're getting some nectar. Nice shakeout right there. I do want to be careful and put my best frames in the middle where the queen's going to be laying. I want to get the most brood I can in that section. And if I have any frames that's on the border or on the verge of needing culled, I'll try to put those to the outside and phase those out as I can. So I've got that one ready. That one's checkerboarded. And right here's a great example of one I need to cull out. So I'll put it on that very outside. It's mostly full of honey, and they should fill it up, and then I'll cull it out when we extract. It's a beautiful day today. Its temperature's around 75 degrees. Very light winds. It was really windy over the weekend. Constant wind gusts of around 15 to 25 miles an hour, with gusts a little higher at times. It made it pretty challenging to work the bees, and the bees was definitely not happy to see me at all Saturday. So we got that colony, we got super on. Now this is completely empty, 9 frames, a drone comb like this. So the bees, all they got to do is just clean it up and fill it with honey. That colony's done and prepared. And after I do my mite washes, basically all I'll have to do is raise this inner cover every week or so and add supers till late May, early June. And at that point, our honey nectar flow will be over, probably the middle of June. Oh, and another good sign I'm seeing in these colonies is these 2 have completely consumed their pollen supplement patties. None of the other 21 that I looked through have done that. Now this colony did receive feed for about a week. Late in my feeding term, it was decently heavy and got pretty light there. This would have been towards the end of February or the first week of March. So I brought it home, and it gained weight in just about 4 or 5 days, enough to bring it back out. But there was a lot of bees in here, but they was on the verge of starving out. So I'm glad I made the effort to save this colony. Look like it's recovered and doing very well. Good bee population up high. And there's brood here. There's a queen cell. Let's see if we got any action in there. Oh, yep. That is definitely a queen cell with larvae. But hopefully I've caught them in time today, and I can see brood up in there. Hopefully I've caught them behind to shift the swarming impulse, but we'll see. There's definitely a lot of bees in here. Yeah, this queen's recovered nicely, doing a good job. just a couple of cups here, nothing in those. So I'm going to tilt them back and see if there's anything on the bottom of the deeps. No, there's not. See if we got any brood down here. Yeah, we got some brood right there. So this colony is definitely coming along good. There's even a lot of nectar and honey down here, a lot of pollen. So best I could see, that was the only queen cell that was even started. So I think my chances are pretty good that I'll be able to reverse this situation. Even though I did feed this in a little bit, but the other two I did not have to feed, and these other ones are good and heavy. But I'm already seeing a huge difference in the amount of bees in these colonies that were properly fed up last fall and late summer compared to the ones that weren't. It is a significant difference. So that right there is mostly honey. I can see brood in this frame, cap brood. This one here will probably have some cap brood in it. And it does, a little bit. Yeah, they look like they're trying to backfill right here. So this colony is probably a week to 10 days from issuing a swarm, if that long. Looks like this colony is going to make a lot of honey. These frames right here about half full of brood, cap brood. See, here's one that's not fully drawn. It's good otherwise, but I'll put it over here on the side and then select ones that's fully drawn to put here where they're going to be brood. Believe it or not, just that little difference right there might make 1,000 bees difference. You just never know. So we got that one complete. Set this one up here. So here's another one that's not fully drawn. And then I'll put it on the very outside. This hive even smells good right here. They've got a pretty good bit of honey on them already. Probably the equivalent of about a medium and a half, maybe 2 mediums of honey, if you put it all into one box. And here on top is my totally empty, drawn out comb. Now this is a little bit different than I've done checkerboarding in the past. Like I say, this is the latest I've ever done it. A little bit different, but based on what I saw, this is what I theorized would happen. I thought about it a lot with the spring treatment with formic acid, shutting the queen down a few days. I'm kind of seeing what I was hoping for. So that's 3, we got 4 to go. Last year I think this colony gave me about 4 mediums. A good amount of bees up here, but probably not quite as many as the other 2. But I do see at least 10 or 15 drones up here that walking around. I see some evidence of brood in that frame, but not a lot, I don't think. Yeah, there's been brood up here that just merged and they haven't backfilled it. I think I partially checkerboarded this hive when I put the treatment on. I can tell by the frames. So there's one that had brood in it. So yeah, and this frame has nothing but honey. So yeah, they're starting to backfill just a little bit. Well, I'm just going to kind of peek down and make sure there's no swarm cells. I don't think there would be. I don't think the population is near high enough for it. Well, so far, I'm not seeing any evidence of any young larvae. I went ahead and tore out that emergency cell. I've got 9 nukes at the house, and I'll probably pick out the strongest one of them and bring up here and pick out the 5 metal frames and just combine them. There's a lot of bees here, and the colony will join up with that nuke and just take off like the queen's been here the whole time. I've done that maneuver quite a few times over the years, and it's worked pretty good. It's worked really well for me. But yeah, I'm pretty sure this colony is going to be queenless. They're actually putting nectar in all the brood cells, and that's a very good indication that they don't have a queen. A lot of times you'll see that after a supersedure or a swarm where they fill all those cells with nectar, but they'll start cleaning those cells out in a round pattern when the new queen gets ready to start laying. So a lot of times if you're in there just before she starts laying, you'll see that. You'll see where they've cleaned out and dried and polished those cells for her to start laying it. So that's one thing you can kind of look for when you're waiting. You know, if you know you're queenless or you're swarmed or whatever, and you're trying to verify. So right now, obviously I'm not going to put any supers on here because I'm pretty sure, 99% sure there's not a queen in here. So unless something really unforeseen happens, there's no danger of them swarming unless for some reason they just decide to abscond. When I come up here, I'll bring that nuke and I'll search every frame, make sure there's no cells or merged cells, and then if all that's negative, there is none, and I'll pull out the 5 worst frames out of the deep, and then I'll put that nuke in there with them and let them carry on. So that completes that colony, and I'll position my brick here to the queenless position, and when I come back in a few days, then I'll know exactly where to go. I don't know exactly how old this colony right here is. Probably 3, maybe 4 years old. But in 2020, I got 7 mediums completely full off of this colony. I think I got maybe 5 last year, don't remember for sure. I probably need to rear queens off of this. I plan on doing that this year, starting queen rearing. I've not reared any queens to this point. But I probably need to. I got 2 or 3 candidates here I want to rear queens from. And this is definitely one of them, unless I see something really negative in here today. 7 mediums of honey is probably in the 200-pound range. And I got colonies that don't perform near that good. You know, I'll have super stacked on them. They may not get but a couple mediums, but my 10 to 12 year average is right around 100, 105 pound a colony. But some of them get a lot more and some of them a lot less. So that's something I want to work on and try to bring some of those lower colony averages up. Yeah, they're filling this with honey. And actually drawing some drone comb right there. I'm gonna go ahead and, they got some queen cups there, but there's nothing in them. I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of this frame. I'll shake all the nectar I can out of it. They got a pretty good bit in there. But I'm gonna go ahead and cull this frame. That's a much better option right there. All right, I want to see if I have any brood in this lowest medium. Don't see nothing there. Or there. So I need to go ahead and take this medium off. Looks like all the brood nest is going to be in the low or in the deep. Oh yeah, I got cap brood in there, so that's kind of a relief. I was a little bit concerned. So all the brood nest is down here. So that's a pretty nice frame of brood right there. Well pleased with that. The one beside it's just like it. So this colony is really going to take off in population here in a couple of weeks. Of course, as you can see, it's already got a very significant population, so checkerboarding will be required. And actually, I missed the brood. There is some brood in this medium, but it appears to be on those 1 or 2 frames. So instead of checkerboarding all that, and it's warm enough now and there's enough bees here, I'm just going to go ahead and put me an empty medium on there and put it back together. This is an example of kind of how I do, even though I do talk about doing the checkerboarding, I base what I do on what each individual colonies need, just like individuals need different needs, and sometimes you have to adapt to meet those needs. So now all of a sudden these bees are going to have plenty of room. There's plenty of bees in here to protect. There's probably a total of 1 frame of brood in that box. A lot of bees up here. Well, just out of curiosity, let's see. So this frame here is at least halfway full of honey. Let's get out here on the edge. Yeah, this one's probably around halfway. So if I keep this colony from swarming, I'll probably get another 5 to 7 mediums off of it. Very well pleased with this colony here. I've already got this other empty medium down here, so I'll go ahead and put it on top. But anyway, when I come back in a couple weeks, I'll shake all these bees down into the first medium and the deep, and then I'll add my queen excluder. Anyway, lost my train of thought, but anyway, this colony is doing very good. But so far, these colonies up here are clearly way ahead of my other colonies. This is more normal, and these bees are kind of falling in line to my swarm prediction that I did back in February, where I predicted, I think it was between the swarm cutoff date will be between April the 1st and 11th. So hardwoods are starting to just barely green up here. I haven't seen, there's an apple tree over there. It's not blooming yet. So usually swarm cutoff, according to Walt Wright, it happens in the middle of apple bloom. So, and that's going to line up about right, about 2 weeks from now. So it looks like that's going to be pretty close. Anyway, this colony here is done. So far, it appears to be the strongest one I've worked in. So this colony here is from a group of splits I did in 2020, but it's by far, and I mean by far, the best one of that whole group. I got about, I think I got 4, possibly 5 mediums off of it last year. And when I was in it for the treatment a couple weeks ago, it already had a huge population. And as you can see right there, the bees are just coming up on the inner cover. Now I actually checkerboarded this second medium. This is as high as I would let any of them go prior to the treatment. It was a maximum of 2 mediums or a double deep. So I'm going to check some of these frames and see if there's been any. Yeah, there's been some brood movement up in here. We got cap brood. Beautiful top band of honey right there. Got some pollen. Got some queen cups, but none of them's being utilized yet. But it looks like they're just hitting the transition stage to begin, or just barely started to backfill. And I see some queen cups here, but they're all empty, thank goodness. That super there is practically full of honey. Woo, this heavy. So now I want to check her brood down here. Brood looks good. I don't know if this queen got interrupted hardly at all from the treatment. If she did, it wasn't for long. Yeah, there's another queen cup. This super's just as heavy as that other one. Look how calm and docile these bees are. I love this right here. They're not running at all. They're just almost don't care that I'm here. I only need to smoke them just to get them out of the way where I won't mash them. I'm not there going to pull any out of that brood nest. It's not necessary, because I've seen all I need to see right here. Right there, a lot of young brood right there. 3 weeks from now, this colony will be huge. I do want to move them out of the way just to make sure. I see some capped brood down in between these frames. I actually don't, so I am going to go ahead and pull out some frames, but look at the bee population. So let me go ahead and move about 4 over at one lick here. See what we got. I see some capped brood on this one down in there. Not much though, I don't see any young larvae. Well, they're filling this up. Not all the way, but they're getting a lot of pollen down here. So they're moving up, so what's happening. So just like the last colony, I'm gonna go ahead and put me an empty medium right on top of the deep. Now I'm kind of experimenting right here. In all reality, this whole situation may needed to have been reversed. I'm gonna give them room here to clean this up and utilize this for brood. But also I know it's just gonna be a couple, 3 weeks. I'll be back shaking the bees down to these 2 boxes, and hopefully they'll be able to utilize this and clear out some of that pollen down there. So we'll see if that works out. And what I'm doing here, there's a wad of bees hanging off the back, and I just wanted to grab them off and not squish them. Well, this may be the gentlest colony I've got. Bees are very docile. And I'm going to go ahead and put an empty medium on top of that. So here's the last colony of this yard. Now originally this colony was a split that I did with a new Cardioli and queen, and I believe it was in 2018, maybe 17 or 19. But this colony is quite a few years old, and it's been a very good honey producer for me. Usually getting 4 to 5 mediums each year off of it. This is probably one I need to be grafting off of. I also noticed this colony makes above average propolis. I was beginning to think this colony wasn't near as strong as the other one, but surprise, surprise, a lot of bees in here now. Pretty sure there's not no brood up here. I don't even see. No, I was wrong. I see it. It's just down low. But we do have brood up here. Queen cells or cups, queen cups. They're all empty. So there's a queen cup on the side. So it's empty. Beautiful brood pattern. A lot of brood here of all ages. Well, then I'm going to see. I see any brood down there. There was a queen cup. It was empty. Here, there's a frame that needs moved over to this side. Wasn't fully drawn out on both sides. Yeah, there's capped brood down here, but they, like the other colony, they're moving on up like the Jeffersons. So I'm going to stick this one that's drawn out on one side down here and see if I can entice them to draw it. So I wanted to take the same approach as I did with the other colony. Put an empty medium down here. Brood nest is primarily in this box here. This colony here is very docile too. In the past I've had some really aggressive bees that you being them like this and your face just be nearly covered up. Well, I do believe this one was just a few short days or maybe a week from actually committing to swarm. My best guess. So it looked like today was a good day to come around, and hopefully I've convinced them that they've got plenty of room to grow without splitting themselves or swarming. So I need to grab another medium and put up there and we'll be done. So there I got my empty medium on there, got the frame space with my spacer. And so now we're done with that house. So that's all 7 of these. These are ready, been checked for swarms, ready for honey production. But I mean, we're not done by no means, but I feel like I bought me at least 2 weeks time right here, so we'll have to come back around and check. So there we go, that completes the assessment of these 7 colonies, and I wanted to kind of do a thorough video on this today because these were overwintered except for that one there without any feed. That third one from the left had a little bit of feed. So, but it's fell in line with the rest of these. The rest of these survived over winter without any feed from me in terms of sugar syrup. And I don't see any reason this yard won't be the biggest producer for me. It's by far, it's way leaps and bounds ahead of the rest of my colonies, and that's probably due to, you know, we're going back again to last summer. I didn't feed my bees up good enough and get them prepared for winter. But anyway, very excited with what I have here, very happy with it. I do have the one colony there that's queenless. I'll take one of the 9 nukes I got left, the strongest one of them, and I'll just combine that in there and they'll keep on going, and I'll fully expect to get 5 or 6 off of that. I've had good success doing that in the past. You was also able to see the experiment I'm doing with, as I thought, you know, I wanted to implement a spring treatment this year for mite control. So I chose Formic Pro because I felt like if it was accurate from what I have heard from other beekeepers and read, you know, if it shuts down the queen for 2 or 3 days, I could utilize that and kind of put off doing my checkerboarding maneuver for a couple of weeks so I could keep my cavities small and get better efficacy. At least in terms of the swarm control, I think I was successful. I saw evidence in every one of them that it did shut the queens down for a few days. Looks like I'm going to lose 4 out of about 35. You know, due to queenlessness, I'll lose 4 of those colonies, but I've got nukes and stuff to combine with them, or I'll just combine them. Probably in about a week, I'll be doing a mite wash to see where I'm at, and I'll be hoping to have a maximum of 1 mite per wash. If I have more than that, I feel like, in my opinion, that's going to be, anything over 1 is going to be high at this time of the year. The reason being, 80% of the mites, around 80% of the mites should be under the cappings, where in the middle of summer, probably it's more like 40 to 60%. So I feel like you need a lot less mites in your mite wash this time of the year to indicate that you have a not too high mite count. Now, this is just my opinion. Well, anyway, I want to thank you for taking the time to join me in the fun I had today. It was truly a pleasure. Beautiful weather. I did get a little sweaty. Beautiful weather to work bees, a mild wind. But I want to thank you for joining me, and hope you enjoyed this presentation. And I want to say never stop learning, and we'll catch you on the next one.